Hey guys, today is Monday, October the 18th. I'm your host, Moses Rangel, and you're watching The Quickie Show, where we scour the web to bring you a recap of the local news right here in San Antonio. Here are the top stories for this past week. News 4 WOAI reported that XEROX is expanding and plans on bringing hundreds of new jobs and more opportunities to San Antonio. The XEROX company will be hiring 400 people for its San Antonio call center and says it's looking to hire call center agents, supervisors, and trainers. For more information, to apply for a job, visit www.acs-inc.com. The North Central News reported that a preliminary analysis on the Stormwater Drainage Improvement Plan could top a price tag of $500 million across Bexar County over the course of the next 10 years. Some initial solutions have been outlined, and FEMA is still slated to interject their assessment, which could bring a delay or a halt to these proposed projects. Gatherings will be held at Jefferson High School, Pueblo Hall, and Twain Middle School this month for a solution to this watershed flooding issue. In more local news, strip clubs may soon be asked to cover up, reports KTSA550.com. Under the current Texas law, local strip clubs where dancers perform wearing only a G-string and pasties are not considered to be a sexually oriented business. So the city's Public Safety Council Committee has signed off on a proposed ordinance that would require dancers to wear bikini tops unless the club is rezoned as a sexually oriented business. To date, none of the strip clubs in San Antonio are classified as a sexually oriented business. The San Antonio Business Journal reported that CPS has taken its new facility, the Spruce 2, offline to repair the main transformer that provides the power to nearby substations through high voltage power lines. The component is still under warranty, and CPS Energy officials have not set a timeline as to when the power plant will be back online. This new power plant is expected to meet about 25% of the utility's electricity demand. Rest assured, CPS Energy has enough generating capacity from its other power plants to keep up with the customers' demand during the lower demand fall months. News Radio 1200 WOAI.com reports that Valero says it will not provide the so-called E-15 ethanol fuel to its customers. There are several ethanol blends on the market, E85, known as Flex Fuel, and E10, which generally works for most vehicles. Valero says it's worried that E15 will result in damages to engines and that if offered, could hold the company liable, especially since most vehicle warranties today exclude the use of any fuel with more than 10% of ethanol content. Ethanol burns a little bit hotter than gasoline, and the components of ethanol can be corrosive to certain parts of the engine. The EPA says E15 should only be used in vehicles that are made in 2007 or later, and it says it will require that stations clearly mark pumps to prevent motorists from getting the wrong blend. SA Cultura reports that San Antonio has a new Archbishop. Gustavo Garcia Siller will replace Archbishop Jose Gomez, who left 6 months ago to lead the Los Angeles Archdiocese. Archbishop Gustavo's installation service is set for November the 23rd, but a location has yet to be announced. Recently serving in Chicago, he will now head the Archdiocese of San Antonio. In university news, KBB 29 reports that UTSA is considering an orange field for its upcoming season at the Alamo Dome. UTSA is raising some eyebrows and could have a similar effect like Boise State's blue turf and Eastern Washington University's red field. School officials say they just want to throw the idea out there. A final decision hasn't been made. For this week's Director's Pick, we're talking about one of the tallest buildings in the world, the Empire State Building. Sirius Material, a tech company that develops sustainable green building materials, was called to turn the existing dual-pane windows of this landmark into super insulating windows. The window change will reduce the solar heat gain by more than 50% and save an estimated $400,000 annually in energy costs. Even though the refurbishment costs $700 per window, it was actually cheaper than replacing the windows altogether, which would have cost $2,500 per window. When the entire project is completed, the Empire State Building's total energy usage is expected to be reduced by more than 38%, resulting in a savings of over $4.4 million annually in energy costs. For this week's What's It To You, we look at the heart of the matter, downtown that is. the city's 2010 Community Development Summit entitled Transforming the Center City Through Collaborative Efforts met to talk about how to increase both commercial and residential development in downtown San Antonio. The Downtown Alliance president says that the demand is there particularly for the younger generation who's choosing urban living over suburban living. That brings us to this week's What's It To You? Will urban development in downtown San Antonio be a distraction from our city's authenticity, or will it enhance our city skyline? Email us to fans@quickieshow.com and let us know what you think. This week's Quickie Show word of the week is bragplaning. So what is bragplaning? Well, by definition, bragplaning means to complain about something for the sole purpose of bringing it up in conversation only to then brag about it. For example, man, I'm only getting 10 megabytes of download speed. Normally I get like 15. That's bragplaning, and that's this week's Quickie Show word of the week. That concludes this edition of the Quickie Show. Remember to email us with your comments, your questions, or your story submissions to fans@quickieshow.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/quickieshow. You can also follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, and on MySpace. Well, that's all the time that we have. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Bragplaning Quickie Show.